Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's webinar presented by Steam Powered Consulting. And this week, we're going to look at the 7 steps to achieve maximum profit in your business. And we're also going to move on to talk about how you can maximize the exit value of your business. So, first question. People always want to know, well, how do I get to that? Well, there's a question that you need to ask before that, and let me give you an example here. If you ask me, how do I get to Austin, Texas, where I am, I'd say, okay, well, let's head across the I-10 for a couple of hours, and then we'll turn north to head into Austin. And from where I am from Houston, that's a perfectly sensible answer. If, however, I was in Dallas and I told that person, well, head along the I-10 for a couple of hours and turn north, they would look at me as if I had 2 heads, because the I-10 is nowhere near Dallas. It's not where they're at. It's not where they're starting from. And possibly even worse would be if that person was in San Antonio and I gave them the advice to go west for a couple of hours on the I-10 and turn north. That might make some sense because the I-10 does run through San Antonio, but they're going to get nowhere near Austin. They're going to end up somewhere in San Angelo. So before you can say, how do I get there? The first thing you need to understand is, where are you at? And that's what many, many business owners don't get right in the first place. They don't know where they are on their entrepreneurial journey. And so they try and implement strategies and tactics that are not right for them at the time. And let me explain this a bit more. Most of us were not taught entrepreneurship at school. We got in, either we left the corporate world, we had an idea, we became business owners by accident, and we don't have that long-term plan, that long-term vision. And so we don't really know where we are on the roadmap, so we know which processes and procedures that we should be following. So there's research been done, and there's now, in general terms, people agree there are 7 main stages of entrepreneurship: prototyping, implementing the growth engine, systematization, pay up, providing an advisory board, M&A growth, and exit. And these are all perfectly valid steps, depending on where you are in the journey. So let's just look at this in a bit more detail so we can see where we are, and I'll explain where most small businesses end up, and so we can then identify the appropriate strategies that we need to be implementing for maximum profit and maximum value. So this is what the entrepreneur's journey actually looks like. We start off in the early stage, we're tinkering around, we have an idea, and then we start to get a bit of traction. Then as we make some sales, as we get moving, we get momentum, and eventually we grow so that we're in the expansion phase. Then in all businesses, there's a flatline period. And the business owner has 2 choices at this point. The first one is that they do what they've always done, and they look to sell more of what they've got. They look to do the same thing, but do it faster, cheaper, more aggressively, whatever. But ultimately, they slide down this death spiral. So they become a legacy business, a zombie, and eventually the business dies. The alternative, which is the one that we all want to achieve if we're going to sustain our business, is to achieve a breakout. And if we can get to this breakout, then we release the real high value that's in our business. And at each stage in this journey, there are specific strategies and tactics that we can implement to make sure that we end up in the breakout path and not end up in the death spiral. And these would include prototyping. I'm assuming everybody's past that stage. You have a business, you're not toying around looking for something to bring to market. You're already in operation. So going from prototyping, to get that momentum, we need to implement a predictable growth engine. And this is probably the most important single strategy in anything you do. It's going to occur several times in our entrepreneurial journey. Once we've got a predictable growth engine and we're now bringing in leads and sales in a manageable and predictable manner, we need to systematize the business. And this is where we have our business operating procedures, we have our business processes, we have KPI metrics, and there's a good reason for that, and I'll talk about that later in the presentation. But at the moment, we don't have a sellable business. Until we have implemented these 2 and achieved a state that we call scalability or scalable, you do not actually have a business that you can sell. You have to achieve scalability first. Once your business is scalable, we're then on this flat line and we need to do something about that. So we have a process called pay up, and I'll explain how that works later. And then implement an advisory board, M&A growth, and ultimately we achieve this high profit exit. So that is the typical profile of a business, either growth, flatline, and death spiral, or growth, flatline, and breakout. And we need to know where we are now on this curve to know what is the appropriate strategy that we should be implementing. So you've come on this webinar to understand how you can make more profit now, but the real value in your business is not in your day-to-day operating profit. The real value in your business is what you can sell at your business exit. And the business exit value can range anything from as little as 1 times annual profit to 30 times EBITDA, earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and even more than that. But the problem with going for the profit in the business exit is most people get this very badly wrong. The grim reality is that 85% of the net worth of a business owner rests in their business. Okay, it's a huge amount of value for the business owner, but over 98% of business exits are for zero or near zero value. And that's a tragedy. And the reason is because the business owner is great at operation, but they don't know how to prepare and sell their business. So some of the things that you should be thinking about is the SDE valuation. This is seller's discretionary earnings. This is what you would get for an owner-centric business. It's what your earnings and the other monies and the other value that you personally take out of the business. And at that point, you would get a multiplier, minimum 1 times annual profit, maximum 4.5. Typically 2 to 2.5 would be relevant. But that's only if you've achieved scalability. On the other side of the coin, if you go through the process of implementing professional management systems, you look at your value based on EBITDA, you can be achieving multipliers anywhere between 5 and 35 times of your EBITDA valuation. That's a huge difference, and that's what we need to be aiming for, okay? And the acid test as to whether your business is saleable is this. If you can afford to take 3 months away from your business, no email, no phone, no cell phone, and just let the business run, if it's still operating effectively when you return, you have something you can sell. If you don't, you're still what we call an owner-centric business, and it's extremely unlikely that you're going to be able to sell for any value or any real value at all. Now, let's just explain the difference. So as an SDE, with an SDE valuation, so the prerequisite here is that you have achieved scalability, but you haven't optimized the business. So let's say that you're an engineering company, you're doing $2 million a year and you're running at 15% profit. That would give you an SDE nominally of about $300,000, okay? Using the standard tables, we can see here that at $300,000, you would get a valuation, or you get a multiplier of about 3.0. So that means that your business would be valued at $900,000, okay? If you're thinking that that's going to fund the rest of your retirement, you're probably going to be badly disappointed at that time. So we need to look at what we can do to maximize and to get the absolute value out of the business that we can. Now, you're on this webinar because you want to know how to make profit in the short term. So, well, why, Dave, why are you talking about business valuations when I'm not even thinking about selling? The sale for me is 3 years, 5 years, 10 years away. I want profit now. And that's a perfectly valid question. But let me ask you this. Let's look at this house, for example. If you tried to sell that property now, you would get nothing for the house. All you would get is the value of the land, the asset value of the property, and you would get much less than you would deserve if that was a functioning and a properly maintained house. And most businesses are like this. The business is staying upright. The business is staying alive because of the owner, who is the center of everything. It's called the owner-centric business. They are keeping the marketing going. They're keeping the operations going. They're doing the firefighting. All of that is happening around the owner. The problem is, as soon as the owner leaves, the business grinds to a halt. So the buyer is going to say, well, there is no value in this business. When the owner has left, there is no value in this business. So why would I pay anything for it unless I'm just buying the asset base? So let me show you why we recommend you have a business exit strategy and how that can affect your day-to-day profits and your day-to-day operations. So we use what we call the 4 levels of business exit. Level exit is a run to failure. You have no plan to exit the business, and when you do leave, you're lucky to get your basic asset value. So fireside sale, you're getting near zero value. If you go to a level 1 business, this is where we've systematized our sales and operations. This is when we've achieved scalability. You have value in the business that you can sell. A good potential buyer would be a competitor, and it takes nominally 12 to 18 months to get to that scalability so that you can present credibility to the buyer so that you get some decent value. And this is where we're maybe looking at 5 times 5 times your annual profit. If we go for a level 2 exit, this is where you have had a strategy to prepare the business for exit, and you're working on the business and over the business. You are then looking for a higher value exit, and you should be able to get potentially 10x on the base valuation of the business. And then the level 3 is when you're really going for gold, and this is when you have an aggressive M&A process, and you're looking at really packaging your business to sell on to a private equity fund or a family office. But why is that important to you today in your operation? Well, if you're like me, when you came to sell a house, or you bought the house, you had a great list of things you wanted to do to make it your dream property, and then you'd live there for a few months, and then all of a sudden this thing called life comes along. You end up with kids, you end up with sports teams, you end up with work getting in the way, you end up with various other activities, and so all of those things that you always meant to do to make the house the wonder of the dream home that you'd always wanted never get done. You then realize that you have to sell. You're either moving for the job, you are upsizing because of family, you're downsizing because of empty nest, whatever the reason is that you're going to sell, and you bring a realtor and say, hey, I want to sell, it's been my home for the last 5, 10 years, whatever. The realtor comes in and says, great, lovely place, we can do a lot with this. Here's all the things you need to do so that I can stage your home to get you the maximum value. Get some landscaping done, replace the kitchen counters, upgrade the bathrooms, open plan the living areas. All these things that you knew initially that there were things you had to do, but you never got around to them. The realtor now says, you need to do these so that you can get maximum value. When you've done that, you then look at your home and say, wow, this is a lovely home. Why am I moving? In my case, I was actually emigrating to a different country, so I had no option. But when you've done all those things, the home that you're in becomes much more livable, much more attractive. And you say, well, why would I want to do this? The analogy carries across to your business. All those things that you meant to do, systematize your sales and marketing, implement business operating systems, maximize your cash flow, minimize your expenses, aggressively take out your non-conformance costs. All those things that will make the day-to-day operation and satisfaction and pleasure from running your business are all things that you have to do anyway to prepare for sale. So what we teach and what we recommend to business owners is go through the process of preparing to exit your business, even if you're not planning to exit your business, because once you've gone through those strategies, the business will be much more profitable for you. It will be much more enjoyable for you to be running in the business, and you are much better positioned to sell the business in your terms, not someone else's terms. And remember, for a level 2 exit, we're looking at potentially 2 or 3 years to really optimize. So if you go through this process, you're having the benefit of improved profit, improved revenue, reduced cost, better employee satisfaction, better customer satisfaction, a better managed team. So the business is in every way, shape and form much more enjoyable for you to own and operate, and you're already prepared. So if a sudden opportunity does come along, you can sell for high value rather than suddenly having to exit when you're not prepared for that dreaded zero value exit. So although we've been talking about business exit, everything that we recommend in the level 1 and level 2 strategy is stuff you should be doing now to maximize the operating profit of your business today. So let's look at Strategy number one, profit maximizer strategy number one, install a predictable growth engine. So this is something we would do in the level 1 preparation, and the predictable growth engine consists of 3 things: a marketing strategy, actionable metrics. Okay, it's the old adage, you can only manage what you can measure. One of the things we recommend to everybody is use the Covey Institute 4DX management system, 4 disciplines of execution, and really get these lead measures sorted out, and also the tools and tactics specific to the stage in the marketing process. And it's the old adage, success leaves footprints. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Learn from what other people have done and then leverage their expertise. So the predictable growth engine consists of 3 components. The very first thing is to understand the psychology of human intimacy and human behavior, because ultimately, no matter what business you're in, you are selling to another human being. And if we don't understand this, our marketing is going to be off, and our growth engine will never work effectively, because we're selling to the screen and not to the person behind the screen. And there are 8 steps in this system. This is based on the psychology of human intimacy. And there are 8 steps to this system which give you this predictable growth engine. Awareness, engagement, subscription. Those are your lead generation activities. Conversion, excitement, and ascension. Those are your sales process. And then advocacy and promotion is your remarketing and your real business growth at the back end of the funnel. So those are the 8 steps. And the first thing we need to do is to understand, who are we going to sell to? And most people, again, get this wrong. They have some clients, the clients come in randomly, then maybe not the ideal client, they're not the best fit for their product, but they're the clients they've got, so they're the ones they tend to go after. We would much rather you take a much more deliberate approach and look at your products and services, look at your potential customers, and then optimize your sales and marketing process to go for the best product market fit. So you can see from this simple analysis, selling products number 1 and product number 2 to client group number 3 is the sweet spot for our marketing. Okay, we want to avoid client group number 5 like the plague, and products number 6 and 7 don't have any real value. So don't even develop them. Focus on the products that you are looking at. So again, products 1 and 2 seem to be the sweet spot, and you've got 2 or 3 client groups. Now, each of these avatars should have a separate marketing strategy. The languaging, the benefit statement would be different for each one, but this is how you choose the people that you market to. Okay, so give yourself the best opportunity to mix your product or present your product to the ideal client group. Then once you know who you're selling to, you can then map out your sales strategy. And as we said, at the awareness stage, a client is becoming aware of you. They're seeing that this is the lowest level of intimacy. It's the lowest level of engagement. They find out about you, they hear you from a referral, and they come and check you out. Then you get them to hang around. They're reading your content. You're providing some sort of value. They're watching video or seeing you post on social media. And this way, they're beginning to get to know you. They're building the trust. They're building the intimacy. And eventually, you can convert them from a suspect, a prospect, into a lead when you offer them something of really high value, some piece of content that they are then willing to trade their email for. And once you've got their contact information, they're now a lead. And now the cost of your marketing reduces significantly, because you can remarket to them through a house email list for much, much less cost than it does to go through paid advertising and lead generation devices. So the goal here is to get them to subscribe, give them real value to get them to subscribe as quickly as possible. Then when you've got them in conversation, you provide them real value to move them into that buying mindset where they want to buy your core offer. Another thing that we find with a lot of clients is they're not maximizing the average customer value. They sell something once and that's it. But there's a lot of money that gets left on the table. Jay Abrams said there's only 3 ways to grow a business. get more customers, sell more to them, or sell to them more often. So we apply the sell more to them and sell more often in what we call the ascension ladder, which is where you can upsell your product or services. So you can have a gold, silver, platinum level of service. You can sell additional products and services. So you can sell cross sells. So for example, if you were selling a mountain bike, which is your core product, you could also sell the helmets and the water bottles and the clothing, which you're not making, but it increases the average customer value. And then the ultimate goal is to get some sort of retainer relationship with your clients so that you have that continued ongoing revenue. And typically, in a service industry, you would see potentially up to 70% churn on your clients in a basic service relationship. If you're on a monthly retainer with some sort of SaaS product or some sort of subscription service, you can reduce your churn rate down to as little as 3%. So it's hugely important to try and find a way to get that retainer option in place. Then when you've got happy customers, this is when we go for closing the loop to get those testimonials and case studies. This gives you social proof, which is one of the biggest factors in moving people through their through the buying decision. And ultimately, we leverage our successful customers to turn them into promoters who will actively promote our brand. And that feeds then the top of the tunnel to bring more people into awareness. So this is the strategy that we help business owners implement. And this is the most efficient way of building out your marketing strategy for your particular avatar. Obviously, as we said, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So we recommend that everybody implements a growth scorecard. And this is tied to those 8 stages of the marketing strategy. And this is something that you should really get the culture of your team to focus on running this growth scorecard to maximize the value of every single element of the funnel so that you really optimize for value. And then the final step is, as I said, success leaves footprints. So at every step in the journey, this is a proven system. There are dozens of different tools and tactics that you can apply to optimize the performance at each step in the journey. But the ultimate goal is implement that marketing system, optimize it, and that is the first step to maximizing the profit that you're seeing from your business. So we've now got our marketing system up and running. We've got a lead flow that's coming in. We've got a conversion process that's working. We now need to go to profit maximizer strategy number 2, the business operating system. Why do we need to do this? Why is this so important at this time? Well, if you think about it, prior to implementing your predictable growth engine, your sales and marketing would be sporadic, it would be random. We're now looking at ramping up your sales, giving you double or even triple the number of leads for you to go after. That causes you a problem if you do not have your business systematized for expansion. That creates a bottleneck. So all we've done is moved your problem from the front of the business. You're not getting enough leads, you're not getting enough sales, now into the business operation where you can no longer handle the volume of sales that are coming in. So you find that you can't fulfill orders, the quality will drop, and you've just moved the problem further down your business process. So the second step in optimizing or maximizing profit is to implement your business operating system. And what we tend to find is the vast majority of small and medium businesses run at the tribal level. They have less than 20 employees. They don't need all the corporate policies, procedures, handbooks, and processes. It's, again, very much owner-centric. And as an owner-centric business, they are the center of all the activity. They can handle it to a certain volume. But then as that volume increases, the business can no longer satisfy the demand. You're wasting the leads, the quality goes down, the customer satisfaction goes down. And then the improvement in your sales and marketing actually causes a detriment to the overall business. So one of the things you need to do is think more corporately, standardize and proceduralize how you do business with the ultimate goal for the business owner of firing yourself from the day-to-day work. Remember, we don't want you working in the business. At this stage, we want you working on or over the business, okay? And we need to be able to answer the acid test. can you take 3 months on a beach without email or phone and still have a viable business when you get back? If you can say yes to that question, then you've really released the value in the business. You've created a business that you can sell and really see that high profit margin when you come to exit. Okay, but everything we do at this stage improves your day-to-day operation, improves your current cash flow, your current profitability, and improves the quality and hopefully the joy of running a business that's running smoothly and giving you the satisfaction that you want. So why do we systematize? If we have a growth engine and we have an operating system, we hit scalability. When we can put our hand on our heart and say that we have a scalable business, we actually have something we can sell, and then we can really find that high value that's embedded in our business, which before we would have lost with a near zero value exit. So the first goal is to achieve scalability, and that is when we've implemented our growth engine, we've implemented our operating system, and we now have something tangible that we can sell should we desire to sell the business. And just to give you an idea of how this works, so let's look at the example I talked about, that engineering company. We said that its annual profit, 15% margin on $2 million for sales, was $900,000 a year. If we can get that business assessed with having professional management, and we can get it assessed for an EBITDA valuation, if you look at that line there, construction engineering, the multiplier now is 8.22. And as we said before, with the SDE valuation, it was only 3. So immediately, without bringing in any significant changes to the business, just by systematizing the business, we can see a significant improvement in business value for that exit. And just to give you an idea, if you look at the businesses highlighted in green, if you're in the medical tech field, your multiplier can be 24, 25 to 1. If we look at real estate, 23 to 1. Information services, 25. Software, 24. So we can see huge upticks in business value once we systematize and once we actually have an asset that we can sell. And I think the highest performing category is SaaS products, where you can see multipliers as much as 35 to 1. In addition, for a SaaS product, your margin is typically not in the 15 to 20% range, it's in the 80 to 90% range. So a SaaS product is a huge benefit to the value of your business, and something you should really consider if you're looking at maximizing the value of your business. So just to give you an example, thinking about our previous business, we were running at $300,000 a year of profit. We had an SDE valuation of 900K. If we go through this process and are assessed as a professionally managed business, which would deserve an EBITDA valuation, we see that multiplier go from 3 to 8.22, which is a value increase of 274%, just by making your day-to-day operations run better. Now that's 2021 prices. If we look at Q1 of 2022, the EBITDA multiplier for engineering construction companies was as high as 12.6. So that's a 420% increase of the business value simply by achieving scalability and presenting the business in a way that would deserve an EBITDA valuation. So that's a huge benefit in long-term profit to the business owner. At the same time, they're increasing their day-to-day operational profit, because everything we do at this time is improving the day-to-day running of the business. So it's a double benefit. Your day-to-day operation improves, and your long-term wealth is going to improve because you can actually sell the business. So this is where we're at. We have implemented the predictable growth engine, we've systematized the business, and we are now scalable. So that's the end of the level 1 process. And all of that is based on just creating a scalable business that will run without the business owner being the center of all the decision making, the center of all the action. But that now puts you firmly on the flat line. And obviously, as we said before, if you continue to live on that flat line part of the curve, you run the risk of sliding into the death spiral. So how can we address that? Well, we need to get a breakout. We've all been taught this. Whenever we've seen any sort of business training, they talk about the hockey stick principle. We spend 2, 3, 4 years tinkering around. We're coming up with ideas. We're trying to get our marketing sorted out. We're trying to tune our model. We're trying to get our production models ready. Then we hit this inflection point and we see this growth surge. We've all been taught that. That's where most businesses look at. There is one fundamental problem with this model. According to the analysts at McKinsey & Company, that model doesn't work. Okay. They did a lot of work on this. And what they found is if you are constantly trying to push for these hockey stick breakouts, you end up with what they call the hairy back of reality. The breakout plan fails, so you bumble along. So next year we said, okay, we'll try another way of marketing our product. That fails. You try again the year later, that fails. And although you're always looking at the breakout, which is going to happen in the future, what is actually happening is your day-to-day performance starts to degrade. And this downward slope is the very beginning of that death spiral. And that's why so many business owners don't see that they're going into decline, because they're always looking for that next hockey stick. What can we do to optimize our current sales and marketing, our current performance, to get that breakout so that we can hit the breakout curve, when in fact they're slowly slipping down the death spiral. So how do we achieve this? Well, the next thing is to really look at optimizing what we already have so that we can get to that breakout. We call this the golden nugget strategy. So you've seen this before. This is the ascension ladder. This is the ascension part of the customer value journey, and it's where we look at maximizing customer value. So what the McKinsey research said is if you do what they call peanut butter resource allocation, you spread the peanut butter thinly over all of your different product lines, you end up in that declining curve. What the McKinsey guys are recommending is you choose your best value product line, put all your effort into that, and use that as a breakout product. And then this way, we can create upsells, we can create the expansion, we can grow with that one product. We put all of our effort into one product to create that. And that's what we do with the golden nugget. We look at where can we get the best bang for the buck by really pushing our high value product. And Jay Abrams calls this the profit Parthenon. So rather than have a single sales channel or a single product, you create multiple products and multiple sales channels so that if one product declines, you still have others to keep going. Okay. And one of the things, depending on where you are in that journey, if you're in the flat line stage and you've got some maturity, what we suggest is you should be aiming for 26% year-on-year growth. If you do that 3 years in a row, that's 100% revenue increase. So you're doubling your revenue in 3 years. And 25% growth would be considered steady growth. That's not rude at all. If you're earlier in the cycle, if you're more in the optimization stage, 26% a quarter is possible as you start to implement these systems. But the goal is to set yourself the goal in a time frame that's appropriate for you to double your revenue. If we think about that using our EBITDA valuation, that immediately increases us because all the other factors stay the same. So we're now looking at a business value increase of 840% by implementing this profit Parthenon strategy. Now, this is an interesting principle. It's one that we recommend to the business owner. And there are two aspects to this. One of them is operational. The other one is psychological. So it's called the pay up strategy. And what we say to the business owner is they need to look in their business to find all the golden nuggets that allow them to double their salary. Okay, I'll say that again. We want the business owner to find all the golden nuggets that allow them to double their salary. The reason is twofold. Firstly, it motivates the business owner to really drive this improvement process because they've got a huge payback. Another reason is when you come for the valuations, an SDE valuation, seller's discretionary earnings, the benefits that you've been drawing from the business, and that's one of the reasons we have our own business, is there are other benefits that we can draw, actually have to be factored back in to get a real value. So if you can stop drawing those benefits and give yourself salary, agreed, you'll pay a bit more in tax in the first place, but it's much easier for you to be valued for that high value exit later on. Okay. And if you can do it again, that means you're really optimizing the value of the business. You're really optimizing the process. You're really getting out the cost and maximizing the profit. And the other thing is that scared money is not attractive. Now, that's a psychological thing, and we'll talk about that later on when we talk about the level 3 exit. But at the pay up stage, you're really looking at every single opportunity to optimize your revenue, optimize your profit, reduce your costs. And the payback is you're going to double your salary once you've implemented those techniques. Another area is customer experience. Now, we all know that good customer experience is good for business. Okay. The team at the London School of Economics actually took this a step further, and they wanted to find out how much value does customer experience actually bring to the business. And what they did, they used a tool called the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. This is a very widely used metric for assessing customer satisfaction. And what the team at the LSE found was that the NPS increase, an NPS increase of 7% correlates to a 1% growth in revenue. Now, I've had departments in the past when I was in the corporate world where I took them over. The department was in trouble. One department I took over had an NPS of -15. So they really were not providing good products, good customer service. And I worked with them for a couple of years to really turn that department around and bring them to an NPS of about +17. Another case, the department I took over had an NPS down in the 4s and 5s. And by the time I finished with them, we got our NPS up to 35. Now, not only does that give us potential value, and I'll do the math in a minute, but also when we have good customer satisfaction, we are more likely to get those intangible benefits, improved social proof, better advocacy, better referrals, because our customers trust us and respect us, and they're more willing to put their reputation on the line by referring us. Okay, so improving customer experience has both a measurable benefit to your bottom line and a lot of intangible benefits to the ability to market and grow the company. So let's just do the maths on this one. Assuming that we start with an NPS of 0, if we can increase the NPS to 28, as I say, that is doable. I've done that a couple of times with businesses in the past. That would give us a revenue increase of 4%. So based on our previous example, that 4% adds another $32,000 of profit to the business. We're looking at a 12x multiplier. So that 12x is 320, about $370,000 of value added to the business simply by improving our customer satisfaction. And if we add that into all the roll-ups, this is where by the time we finish our golden nuggets exercise, we're looking at getting our business value increase in the example that we worked through here, 997%. That's a 10x increase in business value just by completing our level 2 strategies. So that takes us through to the next step, which is strategy number 4, profit maximizer strategy number 4, minimizing the expenses. So how does this work for us? Most businesses have non-conformance costs that they don't even recognize, okay? If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Most businesses have rework, they have inefficiency, they're not optimized, and so there's a lot of non-conformance cost. And non-conformance cost is a killer of profitability. It's straight off the bottom line, okay? One of the departments I took over, we had a non-conformance rate of 7%, and that was based on a planned margin rate of only 10%. So almost all of our planned profit was being eaten up by non-conformance rework. And so as soon as we dealt with that, the profitability of the department went through the roof. But let's just look at how important this is to your business value, to the embedded value of your business. Again, going back to our $2 million company, if we have a a 4%, an NCC rate that's 4% of sales, that would give us $160,000 of non-conformance. If we can reduce that to 2%, we're saving $80,000. That's $80,000 that goes to profit, okay? Remember, we're looking at a 12x multiplier. So that's almost $1 million of extra value that you're adding onto your business simply by reducing your non-conformance costs by 2%, okay? So this is a huge win for the business. But in order to detect your non-conformance costs, you have to have systems, you have to have processes, you have to have metrics. And this is why most people drift along with high NCCs, not knowing how much of their hard-earned profit they're just throwing away in rework, okay? The other thing we do is what we call the E to P exercise. So the idea here is to list your top seven expenses. So it could be inventory, payroll, lead generation, whatever it is. You can tell this, your accountant will tell you this, you'll find this on your financial statements, and then aggressively work to cut your expenses by 80%. Now that may seem huge, but there are companies who offer that as a service on a pure contingency basis. So they will work with you to identify your expense lines. They will work with you to minimize your expenses, and then over whatever the term of the engagement, they'll split the profit with you on a 50-50 relationship. Okay, so that's a very quick way of adding extra value to the business, is just cut all the unnecessary expenses. Now, these other two steps is something we'll come on in level 3. We'll talk about them later. But in the level 4, in the strategy number 4, minimize your expenses, look at your top 7 line items and try and cut those expense lines by 80%. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do for the level 2 to get the absolute maximum profit in our business is actually have a plan to exit. And as I said, it doesn't matter if you're not planning to exit in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, but if you have a plan for your exit, you will retain much more profit and you'll be much more nimble in the marketplace. If an opportunity comes up where you get an offer, you can maximize the value of your business to get that high profit payout. So planning your exit. As I showed you before, we work on 4 levels of exit. Level 0, the one that most businesses get, which is 98% of exit, which is a pure asset sale, a fireside sale, or just locking the door and walking away. That's tragic because, as we said before, 85% of the net worth of a business owner is in their business. And if they walk away for zero value, that's their legacy, their retirement, their kids' future that they just walk away from. The level 1 exit is where we've achieved scalability. This gives you potentially a 4x improvement in business value and can be done in as little as 12 months. Okay. If you want to be more conservative, then you can say, okay, we're looking at a 2.5% improvement in business value in a 12 to 18 month window. The level 2 exit, and this is the one that most of my clients look at, which is the internal optimization. This is getting a 10x improvement in the business value in that 24, potentially 36 month window. But that's what seems to be a good fit for most of the business owners I talk to. And then there are those who really feel very aggressive. They really want to push the boat out. They really want to go for maximum value. And this is where they go into the level 3. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. But they're looking at a business value increase of 20x, 30x, or even more. And they're willing to commit 3, 4, or 5 years to really building this high value product that they can then offer on the market to get that maximum value exit. Okay. But you have to decide which level you're going to go for and then plan for it. Whatever you do, don't plan for level 0. Our recommendation, and it's within the capability of all small business owners to achieve, is the level 2, which gives you a 10x improvement in business value. So what do we need? Well, we need a strategy. We then need to maximize revenue. Well, if you think about that, we've already done that in our previous endeavors. We need to maximize the profit. We've already implemented strategies for that. We need to improve our customer experience. We've talked about that. Now, the business model, the business structure, and the M&A These are things that would only become critical to us if we went for that level 3, but we will talk about them just so you understand how they could apply to you. But the goal is for a level 2 exit, we want to get you as much as a 10x increase in business value within 2 to 3 years of making the decision. And then even if you don't exit, you have a much better running business, you have a much higher level of profit, cash flow, and the business should be much more enjoyable for you to manage on a day-to-day basis. So, as we said, looking at where we're at now, we have gone through, we've avoided the level 0 exit for 0 value. We've gone through the steps to achieve scalability. So we can put our hand on our heart and say, yes, we can go, we're ready for that level 1. We've done the steps here to optimize the business, that internal optimization. So we can say that we're now ready for that level 2 exit. And we're now ready to avoid the death spiral and really push hard for this high value breakout. So this is what we call the level 3 strategy. This is not applicable to everybody, but I'll share it with you because it could be something that you feel, I've got enough runway, I've got enough understanding, I really want to go for this high value exit. So strategy number 6 is growth through mergers and acquisitions. So the starting point for this is that expense to profit exercise that we talked about in the level 2 process. And this is where we bring our cost centers in-house and try and turn them into profit centers. Other areas where we can look for M&A, we can buy product gaps. So let's say we have a product range that we're serving the low end of the market and the high end, but we don't have a mid-range product. We could do a couple of things. We could develop the product ourselves, or if there's somebody out there who has a product that fits, we could buy them, bring their product into our family, and then we increase our profitability because we now have a low-end product, a mid-range, and a high range. And because our business is optimized, we will generate much more profit from their product than an underperforming business would be able to. Another example is by the value chain. So in this case, our suppliers, this is where the E2P exercise comes in. Can we, are we reliant on a single supplier for a lot of our products, in which case we can buy them, we can optimize them, their cost goes down, the cost to us goes down, so we have more profit. And then, as we said with the E2P, we can potentially resell their products and services to create another profit line for our business. And at this point, we're not thinking about a single business, we're now thinking about a consortium, a range of different profit centers, all that tie together to maximize our overall value for that final high value exit. Another thing we can look at doing is buying market share. So again, if we've gone through the optimization process and we're now looking at a 12x or a 15x multiplier on our profitability, if we know that we have competitors who are underperforming, we can buy them. And as we buy those competitors, we then take that profit, we take that customer base, we take that service, but we're now generating 10 or 15x profit on that same client. So that increases our profitability of our group. And the other thing is we could potentially buy our customers. Now, this may seem odd, but let's say that you had a customer who was using a lot of your products and services, but you knew that that customer themselves were suboptimal. They weren't maximizing their marketing. They weren't maximizing their revenue, but they had a nice niche market. If you buy them and then take them through the optimization process, they're going to grow. They're going to have more customers. They're going to sell more, which means they're going to need to buy more of your products. So again, look at your overall value chain. Can you buy competitors? Can you buy suppliers? Can you buy customers? Where can you leverage all the work you've done at your level 1, level 2 profit maximizer process to then apply that to other people in your value chain to keep stacking this value throughout the whole product? So as we said, start with the E2P exercise. This is the list of things where, if remember at level 2, we were just looking at reducing these expenses. Now, as we go to level 3, we do an analysis. Is this a product or service that we could sell to other people? Yes. Can we turn this into monthly recurring revenue? Remember what I said. it is much more important to have recurring revenue. That reduces your churn. That gives you ongoing high value revenue month in, month out, that you can plan your cash flow. And if you say yes to both of those questions, then you find out, okay, who can we sell this to? Now, as I say, this is at the level 3. This is a much more sophisticated approach, but it's the way that you really ramp up the value embedded in your business. And let me give you another picture. You've heard of working in your business, and basically you have a job. You're just over broke. What you're doing is you're putting a lot of work into being an employee. Okay. The first level of sophistication, and this came from a chap called Michael Gerber. He was writing in the 90s and the 2000s. He wrote the book The E-Myth, which was a bestseller about how to work on your business, how to systematize the business so you're behaving as a business owner, not as a glorified employee, and you are actually owning and building a business. And he said that you need to be working on your business. You need to be creating those systems and those processes that other people can do on your behalf. Taking this one step further, and then remember we're at the level 3, so at the most sophisticated level of profit maximization, we suggest you should be working over your business, okay? So now you're looking at building a consortium of different profit centers. So you need operators, you need investors, you need to enter new business verticals, you need to integrate. Remember, we talked about buying the value chain. All of these things come in, which is why we don't recommend level 3 for everybody, but it is there for those people who feel that they have the wherewithal to go for that really high value exit. And I'll give you an example of this. We've all seen this guy, love him or hate him. You can't argue he's done a great job. So so Jeff Bezos built Amazon, and then he looked at where his business was. Okay, he realized that moving packages around was limiting. Okay, remember going back to the hockey stick analysis, he could only go so far by improving and optimizing his package delivery, his online sales and package delivery business. So he looked for the golden nuggets in his business, and he came up with 2 options: fulfillment by Amazon and Amazon Web Services. And he did this analysis to really maximize the value of his business and do this golden nuggets exercise and this business structuring. So how did the markets react to this? Well, Business Week, and here's the headline: Amazon's risky bet. CEO Jeff Bezos wants to run your business with his web technology. Wall Street wishes he would just mind the store. So obviously Wall Street was not at all happy with Bezos' plan to launch Amazon Web Services. Who are you going to bet on, Bezos or Wall Street? Okay, same as me. If I'd have known this at the time, I'd have been happy to bet on Bezos. This is actually what he achieved. If you look at his sales in his American market, okay, he was making $146 billion in sales. From that $146 billion, he was clearing $7 billion of profit. Now, $7 billion is not shoddy, but it's about 5% of his total sales. And that's about what you would see on high street retail, probably a bit better than high street retail, okay? But still 5% profit on $146 billion worth of sales. If you look at his international business, he was making $66 billion of profit, but actually losing $2 billion worth of sales, okay? $2 billion worth of profit. So if you look at the Amazon online shopping and package delivery business, $212 billion of revenue to generate 5% billion worth of profit. So that's less than 2.5%. That's actually worse than high street retail typically. Now look at Amazon Web Services. AWS only made him $26 billion. So compared to his 212, that's just over 10% of his net sales. But AWS made $7.4 billion in profit. So his risky bet made more profit by a factor of at least 50% than the whole of his package business put together. So this is where we say, look in your business, look at the golden nuggets, look at where you can create new profit lines, new product lines, new business centers. And this is where the real value, if you're going to go for that high value exit, this is where you can find that in your business. So again, let's just look at this. The M&A process, if we can get to our sweet spot of greater than $10 million of revenue, greater than 20% EBITDA, this is when we become very, very appealing for private equity firms, for family offices. And this is where we can increase our value even more than we did at level 2. And some of the research I saw was that once we get into that PE level, we can see the valuation factor increases by an additional 47%. So we'd already got a 10x going to level 2, and then by going through this level 3, and this is just on our existing business, this is not factoring in all the other profit centers that you may be generating through this process. So this takes us to a 14,652% increase in business value. Now, as I say, this takes a lot of work. This is a 3 to 5 year process, but in doing so, at every step of the process, you're optimizing your business, you're increasing the value, you're increasing your cash flow, you're looking for new opportunities, and you rinse and you repeat, and that's how you build intergenerational wealth through your business. And then the very last thing is the Golden Goose. And this is a very sophisticated strategy. So I'm going to mention it very, very briefly, but this is something you can look at as well if you decide to go for that level 3. And this is setting up and structuring your business so that you can create a whole series of interrelated business entities, all of which are feeding profit and giving you the opportunity that you can spin off and sell off operating businesses while still creating revenue. So if we look at the top, if we look here, we create a holding company for the business operation. We create a company to hold the intellectual property. Now, this is really important. If you look at business valuations today, intellectual property can be worth as much as 80% of the total value of the business. So you can hold your IP, you can create an operating company. So in this case, we could create a new product line, we could open up into a new territory, or we could take an existing company and maximize the profit. But all of these give us opportunities to sell off and bring revenue back to the organization. We can bring revenue into our primary business. And also, when we have this structure, we can create another profit center, which is our shared services. So remember when we did the E2P exercise, media, financial, sales, all of those things which were expense lines, we can create another operating company that then serves, another service company that serves all of our operating companies, bringing profit back in. So even when we sell off the operating company, we can have a revenue stream through our service company, we can have a revenue stream through our IP licensing, all of which is coming back to the operating company, all of which then flows up to the holding company. Now, as I said, this is sophisticated, but it's a way of not only selling the business to get value now, but also to create ongoing passive revenue streams for years into the future. Very sophisticated, but something that you could consider if you really wanted to go for that level 3. And the last thing is you need an advisory board. Okay, most small business owners have never sold a business. They're too busy working in the business to understand how to work on the business, let alone to separate themselves so they work over the business. And again, this is a common adage, we've all heard it. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. You need an advisory board. You need people who have taken the journey before you to become your trusted advisors. And we recommend the consultative approach. This does not need to be a formal board of directors. It could be an informal advisory board, and you can work out whatever business deal you want with your advisors, or it could be to buy into a mastermind group. But if you're going to go through for the level 3 exit, you are going to need a sounding board of people who've experienced this before, because you're going to be making some big decisions and you want to make sure you're making the right decisions. So that's it. That is the The 7 strategies to maximize your business profitability. We talked about the 7 strategies. We talked about how it applies in your day-to-day operations. And we also talked about how it can help you go from a level 1, which is minimum residual value, to a level 2, where you're potentially 10xing the business sale value, to the level 3, where you're 30x and beyond, which is that really high value exit. So we're talking about short-term operating profit and creating long-term residual profit in the value of the business. So that's what we would like to share with you. I appreciate you being on the presentation. And if anything from here has sparked your interest, I'd love to have a chat with you. Please visit the link, www.steampoweredconsulting.com/let's talk. And I'd be more than happy to continue this conversation and talk specifics about your business. So thanks for your time. I'm Dave Walters from Steam Powered Consulting, and I'm very much looking forward to talking to you in the near future. Thank you.